Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. And today we are thinking about the mothers of addicts. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a thinker, and that is something that we really need to start thinking about. So, luckily, I have Lisa here who's going to really help us think about this in a whole new way to hopefully shine a light into this dark topic that a lot of people may have some misconceptions on. So, thank you so much, Lisa, for coming onto my show, sharing your time and your perspective with me. You could be anywhere in the world, but you are with me, so I appreciate you. So, let's just dive right in and really think about this. What does the children's of mothers of addicts, what does that necessarily make you think about?
So, it is actually the opposite. It's the mothers of addicts. So
Oh,
we're gonna dive into the mothers of addicts. And they're together, right? You can't completely separate them. And I think this is one of the things that's the most difficult of addiction in general is when there is a mother who has a child who then has an addiction issue. That mother, for most cases, um, ends up falling into just as much trauma and mental distress as their child, who is now struggling with addiction, of course. We have this huge bond. And I'm speaking of this from experience. My daughter is struggling with it, has struggled with addiction off and on for over 20 years. And so, it is a path that is just riddled with so many struggles with shame, guilt, self-abandonment, um, really like falling into a what I would call I was addicted to my daughter. I was addicted to her. I was addicted to where is she? What is she doing? Is she okay? All of these things, right? You become addicted to that and you abandon yourself. You abandon your path. And God has a path for me. And when I'm not following that path, I'm things just get more and more difficult until, you know, you just go, okay, I have to look at this differently. And usually for me, it was the way things happened. So I started to realize I needed to uh, create some boundaries. And as I dived into that, I realized what I call when I'm working with mothers of addicts, what I call the four sisters. It is boundaries, standards, values, personal power. And if any one of those things are not in coherence, they all fall.
yeah.
So if you don't have a boundary, you're going to lower your standards. There go your values. There goes your personal power. And so as you fall into that, you are going to fall into a drama triangle. And that drama triangle gets us sucked in. And a lot of times we don't even realize that's what's happening
Yeah.
until we have a major life event happen. Maybe we get sick.
Yeah.
That child, for me, it was my daughter going to prison. When she went to prison for
Yeah.
the addiction, a lot of times you are it's the nefarious activities that go along with addiction, right? And it gave me space. And before her prison time was when I started to put up boundaries. And I really started to realize I am part of this problem in the fact that I abandoned myself so long that I had lost sight of who I was. I was just her mother. I no
Yeah.
longer had an identity. And then going through that in my late 40s was even more difficult and it cost me a lot. It cost me a marriage. It cost me friends. It cost me um uh health challenges that were overcome. But at the time, everything crumbled. And as everything crumbled, like a forest fire, when we have a forest fire, the whole landscape is gone. Now there's a chance for rebirth. And that is where I got to show up differently.
Yeah.
And by showing up differently, I was actually, as I went along this journey, I realized I was showing her how to treat herself. And when I started treating myself better, I noticed she started to treat herself better.
Yeah.
And things just evolved and changed and got better and better and better. And uh, addiction can be one of those challenges that um, when you're not careful with who you're with, you can easily fall back
Yeah.
into old habits, old ways of being, and fall back into addiction. And that's where my daughter is now. And I get to look at, I love you so much from right here.
Yeah.
I have to
Absolutely.
give myself some separation because I have also have a mission on my heart of who I'm helping,
Yeah.
and that there are lots of people in the space of helping family members of addicts. I do this a little bit differently. This is what I feel like is my unique way of doing that, and that is with horses.
That's
And
beautiful.
so I call this horse wisdom. I'm not a therapist. This is not horse therapy. And the horse is not your therapist or your coach or anything else. They are my co facilitators. They hold space
Yeah.
and they show you exactly how you're showing up with behavior, mirror
Yeah.
neurons, and basically their presence. I did a demo day yesterday with a woman who this is her first experience with me and with the horses, and showed her things just with behavior, got right up into her space. And it was so fascinating because I said, it's interesting that you'll just let this 1,200-pound animal just come up and get right into your space. Where else does that show up?
Yeah. I mean, I
Where
love it.
else is that? Yeah,
I
fascinating.
It really is. I love the way your interpretation of it. I love the way that you were able to really redefine what it means to you. And I like the way that you think about this because when I came into this topic, I didn't see it the way that you're portraying it, but it's valid because you could still think of it in the manner that you're saying versus how I first initially was thinking about it. And it's beautiful because it brings power back into the mother. You know what I mean? Because let's be honest, nowadays parents are now being jail time. You know what I mean? Now being
Mhm.
accused of what their children are doing, and they are now forcing that responsibility on the parent now. But in all actuality, after a certain point, we have to let our children go because their actions are on their own. It
Yeah,
does not represent us as human beings, but it just represents as them. That's their choice. That everyone has free will. And unfortunately, I'm not proud of it, but that's what the path that she ended up taking. You know what I mean? And it
yeah,
just brings you back that power of like, you know what? I have to remember that I was so addicted to her. And so many parents forget that we can get so addicted with our children that it truly becomes unhealthy and it's
mhm,
unhinged for ourselves and our well-being. So the fact that you said that, oh my goodness, I love that, and I hope that brings value into another parent and makes them reconsider, like, do I love my child because they are my child, or am I obsessing over my child because I don't want the world to truly affect them, but not realizing we can suffocate our child in a manner that forces them to rebel in a way that makes them feel like, oh, this is finally my freedom. You know what I mean? So it really
Hmm.
is something amazing to really think about, because if you put it back in in your values and in your morals, and you know what I mean, that self-respect aspect of it, I mean, that right there truly does allows the parent to realize like, hey, before this child was even brought up into this life, this is what I had to hold on to. I had to hold on to my self-respect. I had to hold on to my boundaries. I had to hold on to what brought me joy and brought where are my values, you know what I mean? And just because I have a child in my life doesn't mean that I remove those values and those boundaries and those self-respect. And I think that's a beautiful way to just help other parents out there, remind them like, you know what, your child may have addiction, but you also have some type of addiction as well. And you just laying it out there, just being completely honest. Oh my goodness, how I value that, because we don't see that as parents. You know what I mean? We don't see that because we want like nothing to happen to our child. We want, oh my goodness, I don't want them nothing to happen. But then I think of
Right.
Finding Nemo when Dory was like, well,
Yeah.
that's a funny thing to say because then nothing would happen. You know what I mean? And it's like
Right.
the
Yeah.
reality is like we have to take it
Yeah.
all. And but like you were saying earlier, you are a role model. So what you do to yourself, your daughter was actually able to like put that into her own consideration. And we have to realize as parents, like it really does matter how we take care of ourselves, how we handle the world, and how we move around in the world. And I love the
Hmm.
fact that you adapted this the interactions with horses, and you're honest like, and I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, but I give you an opportunity and a space to try to recognize where it is with you. And oh my goodness, I think that is beautiful because people don't realize like horses are huge. You know what I mean? Like I went on my
Yeah.
first horseback ride and it was intense. You know what I mean? Just because the horses, oh my goodness, it was intense. And people don't realize like horses truly, animals in general, animals truly can teach you about yourself in a manner that you don't even realize. You know what I mean? So I think it
Yeah.
just leads me to my next thing. Um, what are some misconceptions about animals that you think is a true part of why you started building this or moving in this direction?
So it was when I wanted a horse my whole life. And I did not get a horse until 2012. And so it was when I got this horse that was for me. And I had to start taking time for myself. My addiction, in addition to my daughter, was I was a workaholic. I was working 60 hours a week. I didn't want to deal with anything that was going on with her in this situation. And of course, what you resist persists, right? So that continually in my network of this drama triangle, all of this, I just wanted it to all go away. And of course, I need to truly look at it. I love that saying, what you resist persists, what you truly look at disappears because you've accepted that it doesn't, there's no more resistance. So I'm not looking that big part of my problem is working 60 hours a week. And so as I started taking about this horse, now I have to take time for myself. I need to take care of this horse. And the more I showed up for myself, the more I did that, the more grounded I got into being with her, the more I realized this was my missing piece. This is what I truly needed. And then as I became a coach, I was a massage therapist and am still a massage therapist for many, many years, over 25 years now, and realized that this was a big piece of what I was missing. And I'm going, oh, it's the being grounded, yes, but there's a magic that happens with horses on the ground or riding, but on the ground especially, where when we're grounded with the horse, they come up to us and want to interact with us. They're drawn to us. The more grounded you are, the more grounded, the more they're drawn to you in a really healthy way, like coming right up to you but giving you your personal space and holding space for you to be here. When you're not grounded, you're in your head, they'll come over and just push you, run into you because they want you to be here. And the fact that a horse even wants to be anywhere near us is part of the amazing part because they're a prey animal. Their first defense is run away. So the
Yeah.
fact that they want to be with us is huge. And horses have been used for thousands of years for this type of work. And they help with a lot. There's so many things that horses help with. And a big part of that is being present, being, how can you regulate your nervous system? Because a dysregulated nervous system is going to bring you more and more stress, more and more being in your head. And so teaching people how to do this in a really different way in the fact that the horse is letting you know this without, there's no words. This is all
Yeah.
nonverbal communication. And that nonverbal communication can't be denied. I've had people say, I have to put this down. This isn't mine. I have to let it go. And you had mentioned letting go. This is one of the hardest parts of being a parent in general.
Yeah.
Just being a parent is the letting go. The first day of school, they're driving, they're moving out, they're going to college, all of those things. And then you add something like addiction and you desperately want to save them. And it you can't save someone who isn't willing to participate in their own rescue.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love
And
that.
so that letting go is not something you're supposed to do by yourself. This is where you need community. And this is where something like what I'm doing really helps with that. That community of being with other people. It isn't just women, but that is my niche, mothers of addicts. But of course, there's a lot of other family members as well that when they can come together, hold space for each other, and the biggest breakthroughs I feel like come through watching someone else have their own realization. And they go,
Yeah.
oh, that resonates with me so much. Like I feel like I'm not alone anymore in this, like someone else feels this. And letting go of
Mhm.
all the shame because
Oh,
this
that's true.
isn't yours.
It isn't.
I would say one of the things, a couple of things that I had the hardest time with was the realization that me trying to save my daughter from her path, I'm doing God's work. That's not mine. What am I doing? That's not mine. I need to let go and give that to God.
Yeah.
And the second part is being in love with their potential and not who they really are.
Ooh, Lisa, you dropped the bomb right there because, ladies and gentlemen, if you get anything out of it, just that right there is already a bomb of knowledge because oh my goodness, as parents and as just individuals, we can fall in love with somebody's potential because we can see something out of somebody that they can't even see themselves. And that's a dangerous waters that we are in. And we need to be aware of that because we cannot fall in love and hold on to potential because it's like you said earlier, that is God's work. That is God's job. And who are we to step into God's way? We are not, we are nobody to step into God's way. If God asks us to say something, that God asks us to do something, then we do our part when it's meant to be done. But
Yeah,
other than that, we step out because we will either hinder it, mess things up, cause a worse reaction. Like we don't know what God has to put every single person in on this earth to go through to develop the context, to develop the character, to develop the personality that he needs so that he can show that I this is my glory. This is my work.
right.
This is my hand
Yeah,
in this situation. You know what I mean? And people don't realize that. You know what I mean? We don't see where God is trying to work because we're so focused and we have like tunnel vision or we have like blinders
right.
on. You know what I mean? Like we get so distracted. And it's like we need to remember that we can only do the best that we can in our own ability. You know what I mean? And enabling them is not helpful. You know what I mean? It's not helpful for ourselves because we put so much guilt, we put so much pressure, like, oh, we're supposed to do this. We're supposed to do this. So the fact that you have this community to help mothers of addicts is such an amazing thing because it's truly like you said, we need that community to back ourselves up to make us realize
Yeah,
like push away what all of the devil devil's intimidations, all of the devil's
Yeah.
tactics to trip you up, to make you feel like, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that, or you should have never done this, you shouldn't have put that doubt. But in reality, like, no, there is community because there are more people in this than what people think. And to think that there are not a lot of mothers out there, a lot of not a lot of parents out there who are mourning the grief of their child that one they once knew, to what they are now, they're two different people. For what we know them as
Yep.
a child versus what they are as an adult, and the actions that they choose because they think that's right. Okay, if you want to snort coke all day every day and don't think that nothing's a problem, okay, then go ahead and do it. But that's not going to happen in my house. That's not going to happen in my
Yeah.
environment. You have the right to put your foot down because you have the right to have that peace around you. And it's like you were talking about earlier, those horses know, animals know when somebody's grounded or not. There is this sense of this emotional, spiritual
Right.
intelligence with animals that they just automatically know who's a good person, who has a good heart, and who doesn't. Because, like you said, they're prey animals. All of these animals, they have this instinct of knowing of danger. So they're not going to go around somebody who displays danger in their heart. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's just like we have to really be conscientious. So it's like when an animal loves somebody or is automatically like affectionate with somebody that may seem dangerous, that just shows that the appearance is not representing that person's heart, and that person's actually has a good heart. You know what I mean? And it's like
Right.
we always put this bad image on people, and then especially on mothers of addicts. Oh my goodness, the sorrows of that I've heard from other mothers, the pressures, the guilt, the shame, and it's truly heart. It breaks my heart because it's like as a child, it has nothing to do with you, but as a mother. It still has nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? Because I know, because I'm a mother, but I am still someone's child. So it's like at the end of the day, you've done the best that you can. So because you've done the
Right.
best that you can, hold on to that. You know what I mean? Because you only are learning from what you were given and what you were taught. You know what I mean? So because of that, have more compassion on yourself as a mother. We are
Yeah.
doing the best that we can. Oh my goodness. And it sucks because time is catching up to us, Lisa. And I feel like we could keep talking about this down this rabbit hole in so many different directions. It's truly sad. But what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
Oh, oh, there's so many.
I know.
I think one of the things that to remember as being a mother of an addict is that if you know someone who's walking this path, if you can't hold space and be connected with them, get them somewhere where they can. Because this path is really not just lonely, it's really difficult. There's a lot of times we're grieving someone that's still here. And that that grieving needs support, right? In a way to where there's no judgment, there's no, and when you have a community and then you have these beautiful animals that just hold space for you and allow you to be where you are with no judgment, there's no judgment. I'm not judging you, I'm just showing you where you are. This is where you are. If you want something different, step into that, feel into that, be embodied, be in your body, and ask how this is happening for me, not happening to me. How is this happening for me? um you maybe have a mission on your heart that God is calling you to, and this is not to say that you're giving up on your child ever. It's just don't give up on yourself, because that is where you can get really lost. And 2 years ago, 50% of the American public had a direct family member affected, or direct person affected by addiction. 50% the population of the United States. So that's huge. You think you don't know somebody? You do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so many people who are in denial, so many people who are covering this up, throwing it in the closet, acting like, oh, my child is this, my child is that. But people don't realize there are so many functioning addicts out there.
Yeah.
functioning addicts that still pay their bills, still manage a job, but on the weekends or as soon as they clock out, they are getting higher than the moon because
Yeah.
that is the way that they cope with the world because they have learned to repress all of their emotions and they just go by skating by not even knowing. And then when we find out, oh, they overdose, it's like, oh, not my child. I would never, no, that would never happen. Like, we have to be honest, we have to be
Yeah.
real, and we have to have these hard conversations without
Yeah.
judgment. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Because that's what truly pushes people away is when they sense that judgment. Like, we have to have that compassion, we have to have that empathy, because if we don't have empathy and we don't have compassion, then that automatically leads to arrogancy, and that automatically leads to judgment. And as mothers, we don't need that space, but we have to be honest for ourselves, because it's like you said earlier, like when we neglect ourselves, we might as well say that we're neglecting the world and neglecting everyone in it, because in
Yeah.
all actuality, our world starts with us. You know what I mean? It starts with us and how we see it, how we move about it, and how we interact with it. You know what I mean? So that is truly something
And
for all of
remembering
us to
that
think about.
empathy without boundaries is self-destruction.
Exactly.
And to remember that when you feel like you need to be empathetic towards your child who's dealing with addiction without those boundaries, this is self-destruction of yourself and them. Like that is a really important thing. That realization is boundaries will save you.
Exactly. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
how it would save you, because it really does make you own up. You know what I mean? Like it's now it comes down to that self-respect, because when you add
Hmm.
that boundary, it's like, okay, this is where my I can have empathy for you, I can have that understanding for you. I see where you're coming, but at the same time, this is where my line is crossed. And if you don't like it, well then honey, there's the door. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I respect it wholeheartedly. Oh my goodness, Lisa, I'm truly enjoyed this conversation. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys enjoyed this conversation too, because how could you not? Oh my goodness, how could you not? Please go check out Lisa. I have her lovely photo with horses along with her. That has access straight to her website. If you click on it, if you're on my website, it goes directly to her website. But if you're listening in audio and you're on YouTube, just find under the description access to her website, access to her website, so that you can continue on thinking, because isn't that the point? Yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen. Just keep on thinking. With that being said,